Good evening, and welcome to the den of the orator. As you know, most sensible people are already abed. So it's time for you to pull up your chair and settle in, because tonight I have a special tale to tell. Every year around Halloween, me and some of my favorite friends get together at my aunt's house. We play games, there are prizes, and of course, I tell a story. This year was a little bit different. About 20 minutes before I went and sat down to tell my story, we decided which one I would tell. And so, what you are going to see is a live retelling, one take, one cut, no redos, of one of my favorite stories from Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark. Everyone, please settle in for tonight's special Halloween edition as I tell the tale of Harold. Good evening, and welcome to the den of my aunt. As you know, most sensible people are abed, so it's time to pull up your chair and settle in, because tonight I have another tale to tell. You know, when you're alone, isolated from most other people, it can get really, really boring. And sometimes when two men are isolated and alone and things get boring, they do stupid things. This is a story of two men who did stupid things and had consequences. This is another tale from Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark. Tonight I tell the tale of Harold. So this takes place in the valleys of Colorado. Alfred and Thomas, there are two farmers there, and they have cows. And most of the year, the cows live with them in the valley. But when it gets really hot during the summers, they will leave the valley and they'll go up the mountain with their cows, and they'll spend 2 months at the top of the mountain letting the cows graze. The problem with this is it's 2 months totally isolated. I mean, they drive all the way up this mountain. They're totally removed from the entire village below where they normally live and reside and do all their stuff. And so it's just the two of them up there. And so they haul their cows up there, and all day, basically, the cows are just grazing while they farm and do a couple things and take care of these cows. And so it's a little bit of work in the morning, maybe a little bit in the afternoon, and then most of the day they have nothing to do. The other problem is it's very mundane. Everything about it, the farming, the food, it's like the same food every single day. They just keep making stew. And at first it's nice, but then, you think like 2, 3, 4 weeks, a full month in of eating the same stuff, and you go out and you farm, and you only have this other guy for company. And after a while, it just starts to grate on them. And so one day, Alfred has kind of a silly idea. He said, we have all this time on our hands. We have nothing else to fill it with. Why don't we make a scarecrow, and we can put it out in the field, and it'll scare the crows. It'll give us something to do to build this thing, and at least it'll chase the boredom away for this afternoon. And so Thomas agrees, and Alfred and Thomas, they set to it, and within maybe an hour or so, they have a really well-built scarecrow. They have a bunch of their old clothes. They stuff it with some hay, and it looks awesome. They really took their time with it and had some fun. And for its head, they have this big burlap sack. They tie the rope around it. It looks really creepy, really, by the time they're finished. And they get it set up, and it's awesome. It looks perfect. And then they realize only an hour has passed, and they still have not only the day left in front of them, but a whole nother month of the exact same thing. And so it isn't too long before these two men take this scarecrow and they start messing with it. At first it's little stuff like making fun of it. They'll like insult it. Be like, wow, Harold, looks like you're putting on a little bit of weight over there. Or they'll eat their food and they'll smear some of it on Harold's face, and they'll be like, why are you so messy, Harold? And the two of them will kind of laugh, and at some point it kind of becomes a way to chase away the boredom. They have Harold, and they name him as such because they have this farmer back down where they live in the valley named Harold, and it's like the person everybody hates. He's just like slovenly, gross, mean, always trying to undermine the other farmers in the village. And so they named this scarecrow Harold and start making fun of it and taking out all the frustration they wish they could take out on the real Harold on this thing. So it isn't long before they're not making fun of it, they're beating it up, punching it, really saying nasty things to it. And for them, it's awesome. This is a way to finally chase away the boredom and do something fun. And for maybe 2 weeks, it does exactly that. And then one night at dinner, Thomas and Alfred, they're doing their normal things, smearing food on Harold's face and laughing. And then Harold does something he should not be able to do. He grunts. And it startles both of them. Alfred and Thomas, they like sit back in their chairs because it clearly came from this scarecrow doll. And they're like, look at each other, and they're like, did you hear that? He grunted. And yeah, I heard it. And so they're all of a sudden, they go from thinking something's really funny, and they're like lighthearted to both kind of scared. I mean, remember, they're isolated. So this is a really weird thing, and there's no one around. And so they take Harold, and they're so disturbed by this, they put him out in the field, and they leave him alone out there. And they go to bed that night, they wake up the next morning, and they discuss it, and they're like, that's kind of silly of us. Obviously, it was weird, but maybe some rats burrowed into it and made some noise. It's a scarecrow, it can't actually talk. So they talk to themselves for a minute, they realize they were probably being silly. So they bring Harold back inside, but instead of going back to their normal routine, they're a little on edge, so they just sort of put him in the corner and leave him alone. And for a little while, every once in a while in the corner, he'll grunt, but he won't do anything else. And he doesn't move, he's a scarecrow, it's just a pile of straw. And so it's a little bit strange, but they can't leave, right? Their cows have to graze. It's important. Their entire farm relies on this system and allowing their cows to take advantage of these hot months to get up and eat the grass when it's out on the mountains before it gets too cold. And so they can't just leave, even though this is weird, and they don't want to touch Harold. But after a little while, a whole nother week goes by, nothing changes, and they kind of just get comfortable with it, and then they start going back to their old ways because they're bored. They have nothing else to do but take out their frustration on this scarecrow. And so the grunting continues, but they don't do anything about it because nothing else happens. And everything is seemingly going well. They're a couple days away from leaving. And then one night while they're sitting there kind of talking, it's like Alfred something doesn't seem right with him. He's having a conversation, but it doesn't seem like he's all there. It seems like he's distracted by something, maybe even disturbed by something. And so partway through their conversation, Thomas stops and is like, what's going on? And Alfred, it's he's almost shaking when he says this, but he says, Thomas, I know this is weird and maybe I'm crazy, but I could swear that Harold is growing. He is bigger. He's taller than he was when we built him. And Thomas, it's his face kind of goes a shade whiter than it was. And he's like, man, I didn't want to say anything, but I thought the same thing the other day, that he's getting bigger. He's growing. And so they decide that night, you know what? Let's take him out of the house. We're not dealing with this. This is way too weird. And let's just wrap things up. It's only a couple days. Let's just pack things up tomorrow. We're gonna leave. We're gonna go back down to the valley. Everything's good. And so that night they go to sleep. They wake up and they're starting to get everything together. And Alfred walks outside and he's looking around and he can't find Harold anywhere. And he runs in. He's like, Thomas, we put Harold out there, right? He's like, yeah, we put him out there. He's like, I went out there and he's not out there. And so they run out and they're looking around and they can't find him anywhere. And then they turn and they look back and they see Harold somehow up on the roof dancing across it. And they're so shaken by this that they just stop everything, they wrap everything up, they haul the cows back onto their trailer, and then they're getting ready to leave, and then they turn to look to make sure he's still there, and he's gone. They can't find him. He's not up on the roof. They can't see him anywhere. And they're like, all right, we need to go now. So they start their truck and they head back into the valley. They're starting to head back. They get about halfway when they realize they forgot their milk pails. And these are expensive. It'd be a lot to replace them. And so they have to stop. And they realize they don't have the time to turn everything around and go back. So they draw straws for one of them to just go back, get the milk pails really quick, and meet them back. And Alfred does. And so he starts heading back, and Thomas is watching the whole time as he goes in and he gets the milk pails. And then he can see Harold up on the roof dancing. And then Harold jumps off and disappears. And so for a little while, he's waiting. Thomas is hoping to see Alfred coming back. And after a while, he doesn't. So reluctantly, he turns everything around and he starts to head back. And as he's about halfway there, he can get a really good look at the entire farm. And he sees, once again, Harold is up on the roof. But he's doing something. He's not dancing. It's like he's pulling something or stretching something. And so, Thomas, he's getting closer and closer, and he's seeing, and then it dawns on him what he's looking at. Harold is up on the roof. And what he is doing is he somehow has Alfred's body, and he's got the skin peeled off. And he's stretching it out on the roof to lay it down to dry. And he's going to do this so that when it dries, he has new hide for new skin. After this, seeing this, knowing what it meant, Thomas turned everything around. He went back to the valley, and he never spoke a word about what happened up in those mountains, and he never took those cows back to those mountains. So that's going to do it for today's special edition Halloween episode of The Orator. If you found yourself enjoying this or any of the normal stories on my channel, first-hand true accounts of the supernatural, paranormal, things that go bump in the night, then allow the spirits to guide your planchette to both the like and subscribe button, as well as the notification bell. That way you get notified every time I upload new content, which right now is 8 p.m. every Friday. Second, as I mentioned, most of my stories are true first-hand accounts of the supernatural and paranormal. So if you or anybody you know has a story that you think would fit well on my channel, reach out to me on any of my social media. We'll find a time to get together, collect your story, and potentially one day feature it here on The Orator. And lastly, if you do enjoy my channel, consider supporting it by checking out my Patreon, checking out some of my merch. Those are easy ways to support the channel as I continue to put out new videos. And so until next time, where most sensible people will be abed, you may pull up your chair and settle in. And I will have another tale to tell.